team. I'll be handing it over to Preeti Raghavan. This is actually her third startup that she's working with. So the team at SenseHand really started their work trying to help patients with stroke, but they've also used their product to help improve bowing techniques for violinists and are planning to use it to measure dance moves as well. So lots of potential here, and I know the judges are eager to hear from Team SenseHand. Preeti, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Think for a moment of all the things you can do with your hands. And now, think about what life would be like if that ability were taken away from you. My name is Preeti Raghavan. I'm a physician scientist and serial entrepreneur, and my goal is to get products out of the research laboratory and into clinical practice to make a real difference in the lives of patients. It's my pleasure to introduce to you SenseHand, virtual rehabilitation coach, technology that connects knowing what to do with actually doing it. Meet Mr. Jones. He's a builder. He wants to get back to work and he needs to use his hands again. But he had a stroke. A stroke is a leading cause of disability. Every 40 seconds, someone in the United States has a stroke. Anyone can have a stroke. Did you know that May is Stroke Month to help raise awareness of it? Let me ask you, and perhaps Jasmine will help me with the polls. How many of you know someone who has had a stroke or received rehabilitation for any reason? Stroke costs us $46 billion a year in both direct costs as well as indirect costs. More than 80% of stroke survivors cannot use their arms and hands as before. What they need is rehabilitation to improve outcomes, which can reduce cost. But they need data and analytics for precise care. In fact, this is the basis of value-based healthcare, which is the greatest market force in healthcare today. Data drives efficient care. Can you imagine going to a doctor and not having your blood pressure taken? But in rehabilitation, most of the data is acquired through pen and paper. Even when we are measuring performance, it's through rating scales, which have to be manually acquired and manually inputted, and they're not very accurate. Now, Jasmine, would you tell us how many people have had a stroke or received? 90% of you know someone who's had a stroke or received rehabilitation, so perhaps you know exactly what I mean. When it comes to Mr. Jones, rehabilitation data is very important to understand what is his problem. Why cannot he use his hammer to go back to work? Is it that he cannot feel its texture and weight? Or is it that he cannot coordinate forces and movements precisely? Or what exact combination? Because if we don't have the answers, then he's at grave risk of re-injuring himself. What Mr. Jones needs is precise assessment that will direct personalized treatment, easy reporting for reimbursement and continuation of rehabilitation, and guided therapy, not just when he's in the hospital, but also when he goes home and has to practice all by himself. SenseHand can help. SenseHand consists of modular devices to easily measure forces and movements anywhere. The devices can be altered easily for different textures and weights to simulate functional tasks that you do at home. And with the wearable sensors, you can easily acquire movement data. Mr. Jones can acquire the data in the hospital when he's face-to-face with a therapist, or in the privacy and comfort of his own home, seamlessly and touchlessly. Let me show you how. He speaks to the app, he enters his data, it's protected. He chooses to do an assessment. He's instructed on how to do it. And the data now gets seamlessly transmitted to his provider, who can see exactly what the problem is. Is it sensation? Is it stiffness? Is it coordination? Is it strength? And to what degree are each of these affected so that they can provide the right treatment at the right time for the right problem. We also have machine learning algorithms that can quantify his progress easily against a benchmark. The benchmark in this case is the unaffected hand shown in blue there, but it could be age and sex matched normative data. The EMR integrated dashboard enables easy reporting and reimbursement. Now, the treatment can be received at the hospital or the clinic, or even at home with the virtual rehabilitation coach to deliver in an engaging and customized manner and to monitor compliance. Mr. Ken Johnson, the rehabilitation director at Johns Hopkins Hospital, says data-driven decision-making is key to precision rehabilitation. Our business model for healthcare systems and large enterprise customers is a volume-based annual subscription fee for the service, which is the EMR integrated dashboard. And we will provide the device at cost. For smaller customers, we propose a per encounter fee that will be carved out from the billable reimbursement. The market size for stroke itself is very large at $46 billion. If we look at all of the people with disability who need rehabilitation and can afford and can pay the encounter fee, it is $2.7 billion. We believe SenseHand can address at least 10% of that. And that is only for stroke. There are other rehabilitation populations that can also avail of the services and the devices that SenseHand creates. And we have already validated in multiple sclerosis as well. We believe we can sell directly to healthcare systems that have already bought into value-based rehabilitation. These healthcare systems want to provide for their patients, but at the present time, only 30% of those who need rehabilitation actually get it. We've heard that with virtual care, we can actually extend the rehabilitation by 30% more. Indirect sales can be through outcomes management companies like NetHealth that have a platform that is integrated with the EMR, but they only collect patient-reported outcomes. Tele-rehabilitation companies like BlueJay have a virtual rehabilitation platform, but you cannot actually collect data on abnormal movements through video. Our potential partners are also our competitors. However, we believe that SenseHand can bridge the divide between the tele-rehabilitation companies and the outcome management companies and offer a complete solution through software integrated with hardware for the upper limb and the lower limb. Mr. Kevin Keenahan, who's well known to this audience and at NetHealth, says what's particularly compelling is that data can be monetized to track clinical outcomes. Our journey began in 2016 when we developed our prototypes, received the BME Idea Award for one of them. Then we got funded through VentureWell and Treat in order to do a commercial market assessment. We received clinical validation from grants by the NIH and the DoD for stroke and multiple sclerosis. We received patents for our device and for system and method, and now we're ready to go to market. The SenseHand advantage is data and algorithms for prediction and evaluation, clinically validated devices, apps for care everywhere, and open API for our integrated dashboard. Now we are ready to test the whole system. Our team consists of an amazing group of individuals and a research and development team. And we together can perhaps get Mr. Jones back to work as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Raghavan and the team at SenseHand. Excellent presentation. And your team has certainly had quite the journey. So at this time, folks who aren't presenting can go ahead and mute. And what we'll do is hand it off to the judges in a different order. I will hand it off to Troy this time.
Thanks for that pretty outstanding presentation. What I walked away from is, particularly at this stage, and you can tell you've been an entrepreneur before, because there's a longitudinal thinking of what you're doing. It's not just about the technology, but about the channels and the marketing and thinking through that. So that was impressive. The only thing I tell you, and it's just a pet peeve of mine, whenever I hear about giving away stuff, it always, I wake up and I was like, and so, if you ever come to, I'd be like, no, let's make sure you understand that, and make sure you understand. I guess the point is, if you are going to be doing that, really understand your economics and really understand your cost of goods sold, because it's a slippery slope. I know it's a way to get into a market, but it can be a way that you have a hard time staying in the market.
Thanks so much, Troy. Chris?
Yeah, terrific presentation, very easy to follow, understand. I think two things that I took away from it is that, data is becoming much more important in every aspect of our lives, and diagnosis and progress is clearly there. And then the second takeaway is that people have embraced remote, as we heard previously, because of COVID, and it's moving much more quickly than ever before. I think the one thing that I would focus on after looking at the video is the flexibility and the ergonomics of the devices that you're going to use to capture your data, because it really needs to be seamless and easy to use and compact to get a lot of utility out of it. I think that's where a lot of companies sometimes falter, is in making sure that the user experience is really seamless. So great job.
Thank you very much.
And Eileen?
Yeah, I really enjoyed your presentation. It was very clear, very well presented. This happens to be an area that I have another company that works in stroke, but with foot and ankle. So it's a space I'm familiar with. The one recommendation that I have is really, there was a lot of great information that was provided and sent back to the clinician. But we know that in rehab, motivation is a big piece of this. And so if there's any aspects that really encourage and use the data to encourage the patient with their own progress, I think that's a piece of the overall success. And that would be, if that's a piece of it, would be interesting to see.
Thank you, Eileen. Great comments from all of the judges. Well done, Team SenseHand. You are off the hook for today.